The following program is presented by the Metropolitan Library Service Agency.
Hello, welcome to All About Kids, a program focusing on the interests of children and young people and some of the issues affecting them. Our guest today, Marty Erickson, is the director of the Consortium for Children, Youth, and Families at the University of Minnesota. In her spare time, Marty is the leader of the musical group Free Spirit. Today she'll be talking about Free Spirit, and she and musicians in the group, Tim Franklin, Rebecca Shedd, and Paul Horton, will be performing some of their favorite numbers. Marty, in part of your life, you're known as Martha Farrell Erickson, PhD, director of the Children, Youth, and Family Consortium at the University of Minnesota. And you're one of the foremost child advocates in the state, I think, bringing your research and background to issues that really impact children and their families and communities all over the state. But in another part of your life, you're Marty Erickson, Free Spirit musician, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. You and some colleagues have a musical group that uses your passionate commitment to children to really focus on advocacy issues in a different way in the community. Tell us about Free Spirit, how it got started.
Okay. Well, Free Spirit has been together for just about 3 years. We started in November of 1991, and I had just been feeling a lot of inspiration to write music about the work that I've done for many years with children and families, and about children and families. And as I shared some of those songs with friends, they really urged me to take them public. So I pulled together a small group, and we did what we thought was a one-time kind of recital at the Jungle Theater in Minneapolis in 1991. But as a result of that, people began asking us to sing for professional conferences and special events, and so we've been on the road for 3 years now.
Where did you gather your musicians?
Well, initially I had been in a small Bible study group with a fellow by the name of Ken Buchanan, and he had done some singing with me just informally during that group, and so I asked him if he wanted to do this first performance, and then he rallied his wife's cousin, Becky Shedd, to join us, so it was the three of us initially, and as we've gone on, the group has evolved, and we now have 2 female vocalists and 2 male vocalists who alternate because we really have a lot of jobs, and we also brought in a guitar player, Paul Horton, very early on, so he's been with us ever since. And today we have Tim Franklin, rather than Ken Buchanan, performing with us. He's the male vocalist who's alternating with Ken.
Well, your group has produced 2, I think, audio cassettes as well as CDs, Place in My Heart and Light of My Life, and these are not available in record stores, but at the end of the program we will give a number where people can contact you for more information about them. Is it kind of exciting to be not only a researcher who has published professionally, but also a musician who has cut a record?
Well, it's very exciting, and I think music is just a wonderful vehicle for delivering the kinds of messages that I care most about. It's a way to really touch people's hearts and I think add something to the more academic kind of research-based information that I usually speak from.
Well, you compose your songs yourself, don't you? Where do you... I remember hearing you once say that you got an incredible idea driving home from a particularly onerous conference one day, and by the time you'd gotten into your driveway, you just raced right into the house and pounded it out on the piano.
A lot of my songs seem to hit me in the car. I don't know why that is, but driving down the freeway, I hear music in my mind, and that's the way a lot of the songs come to me. It's been very exciting.
When you perform it at conferences where there are a lot of children's advocates, I've observed the reaction, and I think sometimes the issues that people who work with children and families are dealing with on a day-to-day basis, they're overwhelming and almost terribly depressing, and there's a sense of hopelessness. And your songs, I think your music, seems to really inspire people and get kind of back to the idea that people working together and families and children and professionals who work with those families and children really can change some of the things that are going on in society.
Well, I'm really glad to hear you say that, and that certainly is part of the mission of our work, is just to affirm the work that people are doing who are reaching out to children and families, and also to affirm what parents are doing. A lot of our songs really reflect the ups and downs of parenting, and I hope give a message of hope to parents as well.
I think no matter who the parents are, we all need a message of hope, no matter how old
That's
our
for sure.
children are. I think it's fascinating that because of some of your research on child and parent and adult attachment issues, you've done some consulting with Vice President Al Gore, and he and his wife Tipper are real interested in these sorts of family issues. And as a result of, again, your professional expertise, the Vice President invited you and Free Spirit to perform at a very special event in Tennessee last summer of 1994.
Yes, that was really wonderful. We got to open for the Reverend Jesse Jackson, who gave the keynote at a big conference in Nashville, Tennessee, and it was just a thrill to be able to sing some of my songs for 1,000 people, and certainly a thrill to sing for the Vice President and his wife.
Just give a little rundown on what that whole conference was about. I know it takes away a little bit from the focus of the program today, but
well, it's really
a fascinating
relevant
subject.
That was a conference on the role of men in children's lives, and it was really focused on what we as a nation can do to more positively engage men in children's lives, as fathers, but also just as citizens who really care about the children in their communities. And it focused on family policy and on effective strategies for engaging fathers, and just some of the factors that either support or hinder men from being involved in their kids' lives.
One of the fun things fathers can do, I suppose, is in addition to reading that bedtime story every night, sing a bedtime song with their children.
Absolutely, we've got several.
Well, we're anxious to hear you and the group do some of your special songs. So let's move over to the set and hear some music.
Good.
Say Thank you. I'd like to introduce the members of Free Spirit before we move into our next number. On my far right is Tim Franklin, and next to him is Becky Shedd, and they are our vocalists. Paul Horton on my left is our guitar player, and we'd like to do a couple more songs for you. The next one is one that really is special to me because it is dedicated to somebody who was so important in my early life, and that is my grandmother on my mother's side. And she was there for the first 5 years of my life before she died at a very early age of cancer. But even though she was only there for the first 5 years of my life, she had just an incredible impact on who I am today. And as I think about that, it really motivates me to be that someone for children in my family and in my community. It's a song that I think really gives us all a message of hope about what a difference we can make in the lives of children if we just reach out to them with love and support. This song is the title song from our first recording, and it's called A Place in My Heart.
Child sitting on your knee, you sang songs of love just for me. You taught me I could be anything I wanted to be, and I always knew you believed was true. So every day of my life I give thanks for the strength such a love can impart. And though it's been years since I looked upon your face, felt your hand on mine, you still warm a place in my heart. You always took time to listen to what I had to say. Though you worked long and hard, you found time to play with me. You were there when I cried to wipe away my tears. You could rock away all my worries and fears. So every day of my life I give thanks for the strength such a love can impart. And though it's been years since I looked upon your face, felt your hand on mine, you still warm a place in my heart.
I hope that as you listen to that song, you'll think about those people who were there in your own life too, and feel the gratitude for what they've brought into your life. This next song is one that really speaks to the ups and downs that most of us go through as parents. And in fact, this song really tells a story about my life on many mornings, especially when my kids were younger and things were a little wild. See if this makes you think of anything in your own life.
There are crumbs on the table, dust on the floor. The telephone's ringing, someone's at the front door. There's so many things I've yet to live, but I'm doing the best I vision boards say I ought to be perfect. Sexy and smart, everything under control. My kids fashion smart now, so should their teeth. But all this perfection isn't good for my soul.
Marty, those songs are wonderful examples of real life expressed in music. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you.
Some of the other ideas that you've had for using your music to further child advocacy issues in Minnesota and other parts of the country include the fact that you're not a for-profit corporation. Any of the proceeds from the sales of your CDs or your cassettes go to programs which impact families in a positive way.
That's right. We've donated all the proceeds from our first album to programs that support parents and young children, and that's just a part of the mission of what we're doing with our music.
Well, some of the things that you as a group do too are fundraisers for various organizations like Congregations Concerned for Children, and you've taken a real leading role in the community. I think you did something for Greater Minneapolis Child Care Association not too long ago.
We sure did.
Some of the other music that you write and perform comes not just from advocacy issues, but from your own spirituality, your own religious background.
That's right. Music is really a vehicle for me to express my faith and just to kind of deal with some of the issues in my own life. So some of it is very personal, introspective, and definitely focused on spiritual issues. Our second recording, Light of My Life, is a collection of 17 songs that are all very personal and very spiritual. And we perform those songs at a lot of church events, church conventions, and special events within churches, or we'll sometimes conduct worship services for a church where we'll integrate the music and talk about children and families' needs with a message of faith.
So I think this is a real positive way of promoting the often touted family values when you can combine real political action and education along with that sense of what families need, and it's to create a whole family, a whole child.
That's right, really to value families.
In the true sense of the meaning of the word values. Some of the things that you've done too, outside the metropolitan area, you've worked in other parts of the state, and when communities are gathering together to address particular issues of importance, for instance, violence or abuse, you've not only used your expertise as the director of the consortium and helped communities do long-range planning, strategic planning, or help them do evaluations of existing programs. You've written music that helps them either celebrate or identify some of the issues that they're thinking about.
Yeah, it's been really exciting to write some songs for specific events or specific projects. For example, recently I wrote a song that was a theme for a conference on the church's response to mental illness. The conference was called Opening Doors, and so I wrote a song called Open Your Doors. We've also designed some special songs for a project down in Goodhue County called Kids Handle with Care. And they've had no hit days in several of the towns in Goodhue County, so we wrote a song about not hitting. It's called the Hand Song, and we sing that for kids and adults. We've also written a song, or I've written a song called One Child, which was written specifically for a conference for people who work in the area of child abuse prevention. And it was a song of affirmation for the work that those people do in very difficult circumstances.
And I've heard Free Spirit perform that song several times, and I'm a hardened person, but it always makes me cry.
You're not so hard, Gretchen, but we often do move people to tears, and I guess that's good sometimes.
I think both of those songs would be a wonderful way of ending our program today. Are you and Free Spirit ready?
Absolutely. Good.
Change comes so slowly in a world full of anger and pain. Change comes so slowly in a heart filled with sadness and shame. We lash out so many hearts are filled with sadness and shame. We lash out in the darkness, joust with windmills in the rain. But if one child lives a better life, then our work is not in change. Come so slowly.
That's a song that I wrote for a conference for child protection workers a couple of years ago, and it's a message for all of those professionals who work so hard to really make a difference for children and families, and knowing that their work really can make a difference. We'd like to end with a song that is one that I referred to when Gretchen and I were talking earlier, and it's a song that I wrote for the No-Hit Day in Goodhue County. And this is part of a project called Kids Handle with Care, where communities throughout Goodhue County are really joining together to try to create a stronger community for their children. And one of the main points of their project is to really encourage parents to find alternatives to physical punishment, and in fact to encourage all the citizens of their community to find nonviolent ways to address problems. So this is a lighthearted song with a very serious message for kids and parents, and it's called the Hand Song.
Hands are for helping when you're broken with your mom and your dad. Hands are for clapping when you want to show you're feeling real glad. Hands are not for hitting or hurting, not even when somebody makes you mad. So put your hand in mine, say we're all doing fine, and then sing with me one more time. Hands are for playing baseball on a bright sunny day. Hands are for waving when grandma and grandpa drive away. Hands are not for hitting or hurting, not even when somebody makes you mad. So put your hand in mine, say we're all doing fine, and then sing with me one more time.
Children, families, and child advocates love the music of Free Spirit. Thank you, Marty Erickson, Tim Franklin, Rebecca Shedd, and Paul Horton. Thanks to all of you for joining us on All About Kids. Please tune in again.
This has been a presentation of Hennepin County Library in conjunction with the Twin Cities Metropolitan Library Service Agency.